You're listening to Talkline with Zev Brenner, America's premier Jewish broadcast on the air since 1981.
And now, here's your host.
Welcome back to the program. I'm Zev Brenner. Always a delight to have Rabbi YY Rubinstein, international lecturer. He's also teaches in over 6 different women's universities, Jewish universities, and you can read him in the Jewish press. And he was a voice on the BBC up until just a few days ago. Rabbi YY Rubinstein, who's now finishing his 13th book. Welcome to the program. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Zev.
So you've been on the BBC in England for 30 years.
Yep.
All of a sudden, you said there was an anti-Semitic incident which you felt that they covered wrong, and you resigned. So before we get to some of the other issues, what exactly transpired that you said after 30 years, I am leaving the BBC?
There was, in Hanukkah time, in Oxford Street, if you know anything about England, Oxford Street in London is the largest centre of all shopping expeditions for Londoners and all around the world, because Harrods is situated there. Chabad had a tour, a bus, which was taking some kids, apart I didn't know, but turns out to be Israeli teenagers, on a tour of London. It was Hanukkah, and so the bus stopped on this major road. Some of the kids got off to dance on the sidewalk, a little rakita, a little hora. They were surrounded by Middle Eastern gentlemen from the cries of Allah Akbar. It was obviously Muslims who started to attack them with all the worst Jewish insults. You can probably, I won't have to explain them, with the adjective and Jews in front of them, and including Nazi salutes. The kids were driven back into the bus. They locked the doors. They tried the guys outside tried to smash the windows, threw things out. This is all. There's no street in the world with more CCTV cameras than Oxford Street, by the way. And the police still haven't found these guys. Isn't that strange? But anyway, so basically, the BBC covered this. They told the whole story, but then alleged that the kids shouted an anti-Muslim slurs, notice the plural, from the bus at their assailants below. I don't think it's such a terrible thing, but of course it deflected, given that these people were giving Nazi salutes. I mean, I don't think you can expect you to be so polite to them. But anyway, so the BBC said slurs, they changed that to slur. They broadcast this, and of course that deflected the severity of the attack and made people think that perhaps the Jews had said nasty things about the Muslims first. But in actual fact,
They want to make it say that the Muslims reacted to since the Jews made a slur, so the Muslims were reacting to the slur.
That was the lie.
They were provoked. They were provoked by
that's right. When of course it was quite the opposite. But anyway, when the BBC pointed out that these kids had not said dirty Muslims, which was the allegation, as they were speaking in Hebrew, the BBC then got some Hebrew speakers to confirm that they had said dirty Jews, apparently in Hebrew. This was another lie. And then the Anglo-Jewish Community's Board of Deputies had a forensic audio library go through it with a fine-tooth comb. It's a professor of linguistics who speaks about 17 languages, who confirmed that they said nothing at all. The BBC were shown that evidence and point-blankly refused to budge. But the BBC always point-blankly refuses to budge. And at that point, I thought to myself, this, after 30 years, is a line which is moved from a pretense of anti-Israel, anti-Zionist justification, to downright facilitating by reporting attacks on Jewish kids in the streets of London. I can no longer be a party or part of this organization, and I resigned.
But let me ask this question, Rabbi YY Rubinstein. The BBC is notorious for distorting the facts when it comes to Israel. And to me, it's the same whether you're anti-Semitic or anti-Israel. It's been this way for the longest amount of time. So why was this the straw that broke the camel's back? I remember a story that after 1967, the BBC went on a tour of Jerusalem and they showed an Arab who claimed that his family lived in that house for generations, and the Jews came and threw him out. And they reported the story. Then it turned out that the man never lived there. There was a deed from the Jew to the home, and they brought it to the BBC's attention, saying, "Here are the facts." And they said, "Well, if it didn't happen to him, it happened to somebody else." They refused to retract the story. So what you're saying is not shocking. This is a tradition of BBC. So why, after 30 years, is this the story that broke the camel's back? And you said, "I will not be part of them anymore."
That's a very good question. When I put this on my Facebook page, I wrote the letter, I sent it to the Facebook page, and I got overwhelming, huge numbers, shockingly large numbers of people congratulating me. But a few of them said to me, "You're doing the wrong thing. You should stay and fight this from within the organization." I think about 10 people said that. I think that's what I was trying to do up until this point, because even though I totally agree with you that the line between anti-Semitism and anti-Zionism is non-existent. However, in their eyes, including the letter I got from the Director General of the CEO of the BBC today, assuring me there's no anti-Semitism in the BBC. No, and there's no Canadian-looking chicken supper. So basically, they honestly don't see that. They honestly are living in a complete cloud cuckoo land of denial. But when they were able to deny and pretend that they're balanced on the Israel-Palestine thing, you could, as it were, think maybe I could play a part in at least offering an authentic Jewish voice. But when they've come straight out of the Israel-Palestine thing, straight into anti-Semitic attacks on Jews in the streets, none of these guys said, "Hey kids, are you Israelis?" No. None of these kids said to them, "Are you Zionist?" No, they were just Jews.
Right.
And something, I once had to give a lecture on the new anti-Semitism, and I started off by saying, the new anti-Semitism, I want to make it quite clear, is precisely and exactly in every single
With the old
respect.
anti-Semitism.
It's the old anti-Semitism.
Just wrapped in nice clothing.
That's right. If I walk down the street in London, somebody shouts Gaza or Palestine or Hitler at me, they haven't interviewed me to see if I'm a Zionist. No. In medieval Europe, I killed Jesus. Personally. I was up there with the hammer and the nails, banging them in.
The old joke, Rabbi YY Rubinstein, is a fellow walking down the street and a man starts beating him up and goes, "Why are you beating me up?" He goes, "You killed our Lord." He goes, "Killed your Lord? That was 2,000 years ago." And the man goes, "I just found out about it today."
Yeah. There's truth in that, Joe, though, isn't there?
Right.
Anyway, so I think that was that. I just felt that the people who were saying stay and fight seem to have not got the memo. I've been staying and fighting for a long time. But there comes a point where, actually, to be honest with you, I was naive and stupid.
Fighting against stupid. What were you giving? Divrei Torah, right? Torah thoughts on the BBC?
Torah thoughts. No, but I was doing more than that. I was commenting on the news. When Princess Diana passed away, they asked me to come and speak about that. Look, when Her Majesty the Queen came to Manchester 15 years ago, she spent the day with the Jewish community and the morning with the Jewish community. She was introduced to the president, and all the dignitaries of the Jewish community were all lined up to meet her. She shook his hand. She said, "Is Rabbi YY here?" And he said, "Oh, no, ma'am. Oh, what a pity. We listen to it all the time on the radio and we think he's awfully good." So there was no doubt that my presence in the BBC, I hope I can proudly say, represented our people well. And so I was there for a long time. But I've come to the conclusion that the people who were shouting at me for leaving today or yesterday, I said to one of them, "Look, if you think I can fight BBC anti-Semitism, then it's a bit like asking a kid to make a sandcastle on the beach to protect the town behind them from a tsunami."
Rabbi YY, it's not just fighting anti-Semitism. It's also you have a presence, you're giving a Jewish thought, a Jewish perspective, which that voice will be lost. And like I said, the BBC hasn't changed over the course of time. But here's my question to you. You had an expert who went through the tapes and didn't find any statements made by the Jews. You said there are more cameras there than probably any other place on earth. So if you asked them to show you the proof, so but when you presented all these facts on the ground, I don't understand how they couldn't say, "Listen, we made a mistake. We thought that they said it and they didn't." Why wouldn't they backtrack when you present them with all the credible evidence?
Well, you see, Zev, your problem is, and we've known each other for a long time, and obviously we're friends. But if you allow me to criticize you, your problem is you're a nice bloke. You're a nice guy, right? And I'm a reasonably nice guy as well. I think that if somebody phoned up and said, you made a mistake in your program, in a heartbeat, you would say, if it was true, you're right, and I apologize. And so would I. That's because we're not the BBC. The BBC can do no wrong. It's astonishing. Do you know who employs the BBC? I do. The British taxpayer. We're funded by us. We are taxed. Do you want to have the TV? You've got to pay a license fee to get a TV in the UK. And that funds the BBC. Everybody's got to pay that. But if I, as their boss, I'm unhappy with anything they do, you try complaining. They have no complaints procedure apart one.
Don't they have an
one, which is-
ombudsman? I thought they
Oh
appointed
yeah, try getting to that guy.
Uh-huh.
First of all, you have to go through their own process, which is labyrinthine, so opaque, so impossible. I've complained, I think over the years, about 4 times about their prejudices, and got absolutely nowhere.
Let me
And
ask
they
you
have
my
an ombudsman.
we have a few moments. So my question to you is, do you ever consider getting on your piece on the radio and saying that you're upset with the BBC about what happened? Did you
Oh,
ever
I was interviewed on the. Where was I interviewed today? I've lost count of the places I was interviewed today. I was interviewed on the Jewish Chronicle, by the Jewish Chronicle, who put it on their website. Then there was something called GB News. It was something called Nigel Farage. It was a guy who was probably single-handedly responsible for Brexit, and he did an interview with me now. And I've got a ton of these interviews happening tomorrow. So I've already done that.
No, I'm saying on the BBC itself. No, you have
if they invited me on, yeah. But
on
it's
your
funny.
instead of resigning, I'm just thinking out loud. Had you gone into your weekly piece when you do your story on the BBC, couldn't you have also blasted the BBC for what they did on your airtime?
No. You have to. Your contract says you write a script, and then you submit the script, and that's your contract. If you deviated on air, you could be sued. It's funny, I was 5 years ago, I was invited to address the Scottish Parliament. As you know, Zev, I'm Scottish. And again, it was a big honour, but the contract, and it was a contract, makes it quite clear you mustn't mention politics.
Right.
You're in the middle of a parliament, surrounded by, members of parliament, politicians, but you're not allowed to speak of politics. And if you did, then you would be, you could be sued. You got to choose. You got to choose
your principled stand. I'm just thinking out loud. I was going to offer you a position with us, but we don't have the same. You don't have the same Brooklyn accent that some of my listeners have.
Look, I can do a Brooklyn accent, Dave. It's not a problem. You know what I'm talking about.
We talk about. And then Rabbi YY Rubinstein, international speaker, lecturer, very popular. He's been on the BBC for 30 years, resigned on principle because of an anti-Semitic report that they that they had on the BBC. So we look forward to having a continued success. And did the BBC reach out to you to reconsider? Did the Queen reach out to you or not yet?
The Queen, Her Majesty, not yet. She's had to get her own problems at the moment. With her children fleeing.
About Prince Andrew reaching out.
Yeah. One is Manhattan-based, and the other one is in California. It's the poor thing. And what can she do? Look, she should have nachas from alle kinderlich, and she can't have nachas from alle kinderlich. Reiswaffen, das was schlecht, and bleiben mit der Gittersachen.
Oh, mine. Always a pleasure. We're going to have you back again. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks so much, Dave. God bless.
Thanks for listening.
For continuous Jewish programs, TalklineNetwork.com, or our 24-hour-a-day listen line at 641-741-0389. For past shows, you can find us on iTunes, Spotify, Amazon, YouTube, Instagram, and all major podcast platforms, or jewishpodcast.org. Thanks for listening to the TalklineNetwork.com.